Addiction. We have Softspoken with us. They can say their names and what they do in the band.
What's up, everyone? My name is Sam, and I do the vocals.
I'm Chris. I play guitar.
I'm Billy, and I also play guitar.
Awesome. So my first question, guys, how'd you start out Softspoken? How'd you get your members?
All right. Well, to kind of side answer that, there are two more members. We have a bassist. His name is Nick, and a drummer, Austin. Austin had car trouble, so he's not here. Nick's on vacation, so it's just three of us right now. But the band kind of started for me originally. It's kind of like a side project-y kind of thing. I was living in Japan for a period of time. Played in a different band over there, and kind of have always had post-hardcore roots. And kind of had like some riffs that I was writing, and I just kind of like named them Softspoken in my like folder or whatever. And then when I moved home, like kind of before I moved home, I hit up Billy, who was in a local metal band, and I knew he's a great musician. We had connected kind of before I moved abroad, and I was like, hey man, I got this idea for a band. Like, what do you think about doing it with me? And he was on board. So we're the two original members. And then we've had some member changes. Sam, I've known Sam for
Long time.
Yeah, probably like 12 years or something. Yeah. I don't know. From the scene, like he was in a different band. So we just kind of connected and kind of all have a similar vision kind of for what we want our music to be. And that's the short answer, I guess.
I mean, you can go as long as you want, because as me personally, and maybe there's some other people out there that enjoy it, but the reason why I get into a lot of the bands that I love, and you can't see, but I literally have a wall of CDs, and then I have like a bunch of vinyl upstairs in my room because I'm a hipster. But like it's cool to see, like, even smaller bands that are like kind of like up and coming and stuff like that, how they kind of grow and like how they begin and start like that. So like, how was like the first like practice interaction? I know that you guys had all prior, been friends prior to that, but like, how was it like getting into the first practice, like working on some of the new stuff? Like I feel like that's kind of like obviously the like base board or like the backbone to like the band. So how was that? And like, have you guys kind of grown since that point at the beginning?
Yeah.
I remember it was about 3 years ago, maybe a little over 3 years ago. We got together at my apartment for the first time. I had never actually met him in person prior, Chris, until that moment. So
Facebook friends.
Yeah, like we were Facebook friends for 5 or 6 years. So we kind of acknowledged and knew each other from the music scene, but we were always doing different projects. Always kind of wanted to work together, but it never timed up correctly. And then my old band was on the verge of the collapse, and we just couldn't really pull it together. So basically, whenever he got to me, I was all in for it. Not even a month later, he shows up, and we start laying down the groundwork. But it was me and him and our old bassist, Garrett, and it was real comfortable from the get-go. I mean, usually it's a little awkward sometimes, like meeting people for the first time. Yeah. You never really know what you're getting yourself into, especially if you're just kind of acquaintances from the beginning. But since we were on the same page in our discussions, like prior to like what we wanted to do as musicians, we were actually kind of more excited as opposed to being nervous or being awkward about meeting up. And I mean, everything from that moment just came out so naturally, more naturally, I feel like, than any other band I'd been in prior. And I guess just from there, we just started working really, really hard. And, even with like the turmoil and the negative situations that have happened, like within the band with the member changes, and we've just like managed to really hold it together. And I think that from the beginning of how we were until now, I think it really carried over, and we stayed strong through that, persevered. And like I said, everything just came out super naturally. And that's kind of when like this is going to work. I've just always had 100% faith. I think all of us, even with the new additions to our band, have we all share that same faith in what we do.
Yeah, and it's cool to see that because, like, not to say that there aren't bands that have like their issues or whatever, but it's always cool to see bands like kind of push beyond that, and obviously it's something that you love to do and something you're passionate about, and I can say the same sort of thing to what I do. It's tough to maybe kind of like, especially when things maybe aren't going so right, to like really push forward and do what you got to do, but. Love the story. Again, I'm a big fan of that sort of stuff. So I don't, like I said, that's something that I love asking and kind of getting about. But my next question, guys, what are some favorite venues you guys like to play at or catch a show at in your free time in your area?
I'd say around here there used to be this place called Mad Hatter, and it's kind of like a venue that like Chris and I, and I'm sure Billy, we all kind of grew up on going there. That was my downright favorite place to play. It was kind of like when because the scene's a little old. I feel like not necessarily like, I don't know, say what you want about, but back I like mid 2000s, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah.
It was really hopping, and they were bringing in big names, and then locals, and just always so many people. I think nowadays I really like Bogarts when they when the promoters when they bring people. That place is really fun. They renovated too, and you can't smoke inside there now. Any in Ohio now, so it's cleaner. It's nice. So Bogarts is fun, I think.
Yeah, Bogarts is kind of like the Live Nation, A-level venue in Cincinnati.
Okay.
So they bring in like a lot of the good packages, but like Sam was saying, like the scene is still good here, but I feel like it kind of peaked a little bit and went down, and it's kind of on the uptick maybe, but. A lot of like bigger tours will hit Lexington or Louisville instead of Cincinnati, we're kind of in between all of those. But yeah, I think I enjoy Bogarts going there. I really like a newer venue in Louisville called the Tiger Room.
Okay.
It's a great place.
It's cool. Super, like the dude who runs it, Trey, is an awesome guy, and always a good time in Louisville for us.
I think a lot of what happened in Cincinnati was that we had a couple of places that, like the Mad Hatter. It was like in Kentucky, but it was just across the bridge from Cincinnati. But a lot of these like older like venues where the music scene was peaking kind of like went away, and they got torn down, or like they went under new management, or like promoters were sketchy, so they like switched management and then like promoters. And I think with all that stuff happening and with all the venues kind of being like deteriorated at that point, it kind of started to separate the music scene a little bit. And I think that's kind of like where that comes into play, is like it's still strong and going, and there's a bunch of talent here, but it can be kind of like niche-y, I guess, if that's the right terminology, just because of all the like departure of all those venues. But there's one particularly like the Thompson House in Newport, which is another one that's like where the Mad Hatter was, basically right down the street. That's one where pretty much all the locals, new bands are given a chance to play for their first time there. So if anybody like is looking to start up a band and they're looking to book shows, like that's the place to go. But yeah, I mean, other than that, there's like just you got your A-level venues, and that's kind of it. It's not as expansive as it was.
Do you find that like in the music scene, because I know that you guys were talking about kind of it going through like a peak, do you find that during this time, like do you find that like more local bands kind of are taking more of progress to be like, okay, like we got to do better, like we got to push a little bit more? I know that you guys had spoken about like being like a better band and just trying to like progress and stuff like that. So have you found that the bands in the area have just gotten better over time, while maybe necessarily the venues may have not been there?
I'd say there's a lot of great talent bands that are getting good nowadays because of this challenge. It's different now. It's hard to get kids to come up with shows anymore. I'm sure that you could see that anywhere. Because I don't know, the music is just changing. People are into like electronics and stuff now, but it's all. It'll all come back. It'll swing back, I promise.
But in some kind of positive way, it's almost like weeded out the weak, almost with the way that venues have like
bands do drop. They trend so much these days. Where like they'll get an EP together, they'll get a group together, they'll get some marketing, a brand, and then it just falls apart. It happens all the time. It just happened to a really close band friends of ours too.
Yeah.
And that's another thing we're seeing too. So it's a bigger challenge today. But I think bands like Softspoken, I think like our goals, we really love spreading positivity and just like knowledge today. We do so much on our own. And
not just sticking to
that's
like the
what's
local
keeping
area
us.
for it.
Yeah, and that's what's keeping us just grinding for ourselves. And I just think a lot of kids just don't get that. Different age.
I respect that a lot because it's like, you know, you don't. I feel like, you know, it's something that isn't talked about. It's not like an honest, like it's an honest thing. Like you like that type of conversation is like hard to have and is like, you know, hard for a reason because you don't want to be like, oh, well, I don't want to shit on my friends or I don't want to like say something, but you know, I've always said this about the, you know, the way that I run the channel, and people ask me like, because I've been going to shows for a long time and obviously doing this, they ask me for my opinions on this or whatever, and you know, I think I would rather have it said in an honest way where I'm like, okay, you know, it's not nothing mean, just something honest where you're like, okay, this is why I think you could improve about this, or maybe you weren't that spot on tonight, but you know, maybe next time you guys could work on something like that, or you know, just, you know, maybe make the live show a little bit better or something like that. And I think that really benefits not only the band, but it also benefits the people that attend the shows and go to see these sorts of bands, because you know, like I'll go to a show and sometimes I might not know the local band that's playing, but if they put on a great live show and they're really involved and they get people going, I'm more apt to go like them. I'm more apt to go be like, hey, I run a channel, like you know, I really appreciate what you do. I think you guys are really killing it. Like, let's work some together.
It's just gonna keep feeding everyone else to do the same thing. So.
We kind of did. We started, which we need to update, but like on our last tour in January, our longer tour we did with Macari. I felt like almost every show we played, the locals were so good. Like, you know, you'll have like we stay to watch every band regardless, but
of course
you'll have some shows where you're like, oh man, this sucks, you know. Like, that tour, man, like seriously, so many of the bands were really good, and so we like decided to make this playlist. Like we have a group called the Speakers, which is kind of like our band group, but it's more about like just being friends and like, hey, if you're in a band, share what you're doing, like let us, you know, hype that up. So we made a playlist for that. To kind of share the bands that we find locally that are like, man, these guys are good.
Or so, we share the road with.
Yeah, too. Yeah. So we're trying to do our part there to like, you know, bring up the little guy, I guess. Yeah, not that we're big necessarily, but
think of a larger community to where, you know, everybody's connected in one way or the other. Because I feel like a lot of us in the band view life in that way, kind of like the more connected that we are, like the better off that we can be to rebuild structure for life when things can get chaotic, and also just being supportive, because I feel like everybody needs a little support right now because life's really tough, I feel like, on a lot of different people, and all of us and just in general. So any kind of that little bit of positivity, it just goes a really long way.
Yeah, and I can't commend that anymore because, again, that's like the whole basis for like doing what I do, is because like I want bands that are really working hard, they're really doing it to be on this thing, because I not only like as a channel runner, but also as like I am just a fan in general. Like that's like what I want to do, and obviously the positive promotion, that is like that's the most important thing. And you know, I am thankful you guys decided to come on and want to share that sort of thing, and you know, I'm obviously going to do whatever I can to get you guys out there as well. But getting back into some of the more fun stuff, what was the last show that you attended that you didn't play?
You guys just went to that artist?
Yeah. We just went to. Sorry, I had a brain lapse. When was that? Last week?
Yeah, last Tuesday.
So we have a good buddy. His name's Andrew Hurt. He's in this band called Artica from Louisville.
So my shirt.
Yeah, right there.
They're a great band.
Yes. And he also does a lot of promotion. So like he does a lot to help the scene in Kentucky, and books bands on tours and all kinds of stuff. He's a good dude. He had a birthday show and also had the dudes in Macari come through. So Sam and I went down and just kind of hung out. And
we almost didn't make it though.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like an hour, typically like an hour drive to Louisville from here, and the interstate was closed.
Oh
Took
man.
us like hours. We went on like some crazy Kentucky back roads. Like I live on a crazy back road, but these were like some crazy
Yeah.
back roads. The people on buggies with horses.
Yeah.
Oh,
no joke.
man.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, we literally saw horse and buggy like at every turn.
Yeah.
Dude, that's like when we were on our way to launch music
I
festival
know
in
in
Lancaster.
Kentucky we had that. Well, that was expected.
That was the last
That's
show,
amazing.
so we're gonna go on a rant about horses. But that was the last show.
That's okay. I also live out in the country too, so I can definitely assimilate with all of that for sure. But I live in New Jersey, which most people don't even expect that there is country. Most people just like assume like, you know, I'm a Guido and that, you know, I'm on the Jersey Castle. Jersey
Where
Shore.
at in New Jersey?
I live by military base. It's called Wright. The town is called Wrightstown. It's like a small little like farm area, so it's really cool. Been here my entire life. But next question, guys, the most important one. Tell them about your musical influences. Who do you guys draw from?
These are the hard.
I will definitely take the reins on this because I always know. So I like a lot of like progressive rock, things that like change moods, like in songs, like whether it be like rapidly or like gradually. So I like a lot of bands like Pink Floyd, and take on kind of that like influence of like emotional like music. They're not so much like heavy / like ambient or melodic, but if we're talking about bands like that, I like Era and North Lane, In Heart's Wake. A lot of Australian bands seem to be like really killing the progressive rock or like progressive metal scene. And then I noticed your Silent Planet hoodie too. I really like Silent Planet. Yeah, like so pretty much any kind of rock music that mixes genres up a whole bunch is kind of like what I take a lot of influence from. But also too, like Under Oath's like one of my top favorite bands, and I know Chris can agree with this too. Like we kind of started the band on the like Under Oath like as a reference basically on like what we wanted to play. Like we thought, yeah, Under Oath, like to find a great line kind of but not using that as like, hey, like we're gonna sound just like this or we're gonna recreate this. We just wanted to keep that in mind for like what style we wanted and just kind of like really started branching off from there. So I guess you can go.
Me.
Yeah,
So in terms of like just being interested in music in general, like not necessarily as a guitarist, but like I grew up listening to the Beatles from my parents, and then like old country, like Willie Nelson, and like that's like all my dad. Like a lot of folky stuff that like told stories, and I've kind of always been into things that tell a good story and lyrics, especially on like Silent Planet, for example. They have amazing lyrics.
it's the best.
And my favorite band of all time is As Cities Burn, both on the lyrical content and then in terms of how Cody plays guitar has been a huge influence on how I developed my own style. And then bands obviously like Under Oath. Norma Jean's a big one for me. Chariot, Dillinger Escape Plan. When I was younger, I was into like some really crazy, like not necessarily like, I don't know if mathcore was a thing at the time, but that's kind of
Number 12.
But then even like, you know, so like bands when I was younger, like I'm 30 now, so bands when I was like 18 that were coming up, Fall of Troy, those kind of bands in the scene. But now like newer bands that like Too Close to Touch, and like, you know, they're local to us, but you know, their music, I have my qualms with it at times, but also like the structure of how it's written, and a lot of times that's the producer as well, but like I also kind of study what's new and what's working. So I kind of draw influences from both sides, I guess.
Nice.
I'm a sponge when it comes to creative stuff or whatever music. I take it all in. Rap, I've listened to it all. I've went through so many phases when I was younger. I swear. Nelly, rap, I don't know. But when I was younger, like I think when I found my niche, friends, and kind of like things I found interesting and hobbies and stuff. I really like skateboarding, and all my friends were listening to ska and punk. So we like NoFX and the Casualties and Anti-Flag. I loved Anti-Flag growing up, and and they actually played a show with Alexis on Fire. So I did get into some post-hardcore too. Like some of my friends went one way, and I went, definitely went into that post-hardcore, Under Oath, SD's Burns. I fell in love with Census Failed. I've seen so much Census Fail, Ticket Stubs. Actually, I have Less Than Jake and then Census Fail. Those are my two. I love Buddy's craziness, so I wanted to be nuts like him. But I love Less Than Jake's melodies and just their ska was so fun for me. And then I kind of when I college and got older, I really liked reggae, and I started playing guitar first. So I learned punk rock and the classic stuff. My mom was huge in my mom was huge in Queen. So I loved Queen, and Freddie's voice is nuts. And that movie that came out, it's great. So I'm glad he's getting.
I'm gonna check that one out.
But yeah, so I've cycled through some paths. But yeah, I love I love new stuff too. I feel like new stuff is what's forming what's gonna be now. And, what we're doing is right now. So it's kind of important what other people are doing too. So I've looked at other singers, and I love Landon Tours, and I love Tyler Carter, and I have respect for I have respect for Johnny Craig. I think he's super, super talented, and all the personal stuff I don't know.
Yeah, it's too bad he's.
I don't know anything about it, but whatever. It's hard life, I'm sure. So. But yeah, I love John Mayer, man. John Mayer. Guitar, that's how I was going with that. Yeah, I started playing guitar before I ever thought about singing.
He's a beast.
And man, John Mayer was one dude I was I had this one friend in high school who was I'm telling you, man. It was before it was oh man, you don't like John Mayer, dude.
Yeah.
No, you don't want to like him. Yes, you do.
That was when A Room Full of Squares, I'm sure, came out. That's still I don't care what anybody says. That's still a jammer. That's got the best song he's ever done. Neon. You can fight me in the streets. I don't care. That's his best song.
I still have the acoustic version too. I got real close. I couldn't do it now, but yeah, I love me some John Mayer.
But I like where you guys draw from, because I feel I'm also older. I'm 26, so I'm very much in the same age range. But I like that you guys kind of started out classic rock. My parents are very big in the classic rock, still are in the classic rock, but now I've kind of found my own kind of niche of music, and it's cool to see that you guys have that same sort of progression, and you guys are going in the same wavelength. So that's why I feel everything about this interview is going super well, and I feel like we have a lot of camaraderie already. But my next question, guys, to follow up the influences, who have you been jamming? What's in your car? What's on your Spotify? What have you been listening to lately?
Ooh, I got this. So there's a band that just signed to Fearless actually not too long ago that I found, and they're called The Parting Gift, and they're from Britain. I've actually been following a lot of British bands right now. My mom is from Wales. Okay. She hated the Beatles, by the way, so she would have not got along with Chris's parents. She was a Stan fan. But I've been following some British bands. There's some really good post-hardcore, just this I don't know, good rock. I just love it. So The Parting Gift, man, they put out some new songs too, but I've been jamming them right now, in my car. That was one of the last songs. Bands I was listening to.
Yeah, hey, they're super good. Something that's stayed in my car for a week straight, and I haven't taken it out, and I'd actually end up if I have a longer drive, I just listen to it again from start to finish. It's a band called the Earth Laid Bear, and they're from India. They're a lot like
Sound Planet.
Yeah, the whole they sound a lot like Silent Planet mixed with Air, North Lane. So basically, all that stuff I said is right up my alley. They do extremely well, and I've been good friends with a couple of the members for quite a while. But it's I don't know. It's hard for me to be impressed by a local band particularly, but I've always been really impressed with their work. So that's been nonstop in my car. Actually, Slaves, their newer record, I keep listening to a whole bunch, keep going back to. It's just really well composed, and the vocals are perfect, and I don't know, I connect with the lyrics a whole lot on that album. And yeah, just all the North Lane records, and that's mostly kind of what I've been at. I need to get more. I need to expand my knowledge of music a little bit more, because I feel there's so much out there still that I could really that I just haven't heard of yet. But those are the main few things.
For me, the main thing I've been jamming actually is Billie Eilish, or how you pronounce her last name.
Yep, I feel like you're right.
I'm not usually not into pop-ish, like mainstream stuff that much, but I don't know. I'm really into like what she does. I think it's awesome. But that's the main thing I've been spinning. Outside of that, and outside of this band, I do some like artist management. So I manage a few bands. Earthly Bear is one of them. So other than like my personal listening, I listen to the bands I help their stuff that's not out yet. So a few shout outs. Revenant is one. Another band called The Danger of Falling just released a new single called Burn Me. It's really good. It's kind of like melodic hardcore kind of stuff.
And then Varsity too.
Varsity, kind of Slaves-ish.
Yeah, super good vocalist.
Shout outs to Joey. I know Varsity
Yeah.
very well, so they're fantastic. Nola. It's probably one of my favorite tracks they've done in a long time.
Oh, I love that song.
They got a lot more on the way.
Awesome.
They sent me a new demo actually, like while we were doing this. So
They gotta come on, Joey. Where you at, man? I thought you're like, let's get it. Awesome.
They're gonna take some strides though. I can definitely tell. Like they're gonna do like some really good stuff this year and then the following year.
I feel like they're gonna
can't wait.
They're gonna fill that Slaves gap that Johnny unfortunately left.
That's what needs to happen. Now,
Yeah.
So they just need to find Joey and be like, oh, here's our new Johnny.
Well, right, and they all know who
No,
Joey
Joey's
is too.
Joey's still different. You can still hear differences.
Yeah,
He does
but
things
I
different.
guess for this tour they got some guy who was on The Voice or something like that.
No,
to sing for
yeah,
them,
it
or
was-
some American Idol guy.
But it was like the British version of The Voice, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, like American Talent or
Yeah,
one of the
yeah, or
singers.
something
Yeah,
like that.
but apparently he's really good. I don't know if they're sticking with him or not.
So it's-
but if not,
the
they
British
should-
version
I
of
don't
The Voice is called America's Got
No,
Talent.
no.
Like it's a show like that, but
Okay.
but it's not called that. I guess it's Britain's Got Talent or whatever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
We all know what you meant. That was hilarious. Anyway, guys, next question, a fun one. If you guys could pick a song to cover, what would it be?
We've been talking about this a lot lately,
I know.
actually, and haven't agreed on fully on anything.
I want to do a song by The Weeknd, and I'm trying to think of it's "Call Out My Name" by The Weeknd.
Oh,
I'm like really
yeah.
wanting to cover because I think with Sam, with his vocal style and how I kind of hear it playing out in my head on what like I would write to it. I don't know. I think it would mesh with our style like really well, but we haven't like agreed on anything yet. We're keeping our mind open.
I'm actually a really big Haley Williams fan too. I forgot to mention that. So I don't. This probably wouldn't happen with the band, but I'd like to put out "Ain't It Fun" by Paramore and just show everyone that like I can sing like Haley. Like I show all these girls, be girls, be like I'm Haley. Bitch. But anyway, we probably do that.
I don't know. I feel like it'd be cool to cover like it's 2019, so I feel like it's the year to cover something from like back in the heyday of the scene days. I don't know what in particular, but
Yeah, we're gonna find
like an old Seosin song or like
Yeah,
Chemical
classic,
Romance.
yeah,
something,
something
I don't
classic.
know.
Yeah, that would be.
The Used would be a good
Used
one
would be
too.
good.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Everyone's bringing out pop covers, and no one's doing that.
So-
Taking
Everyone's having
classic
emo
stuff.
night at venues. Like
Yes.
you know how many emo nights I've
Yeah,
seen.
we need to
Like,
start
it's
putting out
ridiculous.
some covers of all the shit we, that
Yeah.
brought everyone to liking this shit in the first place.
Yeah, that's just true, man.
Good idea.
Get
I
on
like
it.
that.
Yeah.
Also,
Yep.
I've had this commonality when I ask this question to other bands. I feel like you should like make a post on Facebook and be like, tell us what song we should cover, and then just make like a poll and see what people are feeling, what might work, stuff like that. I think that's always a good option. So maybe some food for thought in the future.
Smart man.
I agree with that because I mean, if you get what the majority of say you get a lot of responses out of it, and the majority want the song, and then you do it well, then it's going to do well. Like you don't have to wonder if the reception of the song is going to do well or not. You kind of already know it's gonna be there if that's what people want to hear.
We'll put you in the credits.
You
I'm
guys,
gonna
you
be-
guys can just PayPal me later, just like
Yeah.
slide into the DMs.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate and say no. I don't trust the people. It's a clear move.
Come on, man.
It's
We
got to be
people, bro.
correct. You need to run it by management.
Well, okay, so you do one that you get for the people, and you get one that you got for the management. Come on, I'm telling you, it's gonna work.
No.
And then rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, guys, another fun question: favorite food to eat?
Oh, man. That's tough.
I love Italian food. Anything that has that label on it. Like I love pasta. I literally eat like a salad every single day with Italian dressing and a bunch of vegetables on it. So basically anything that's coming from somebody who's probably not had much like really like genuine Italian food. I've never been to Italy. I've never been out of the country.
He's never been a
So
Buca de Peppa.
Yeah, that too. But I've never like been. I want to try some genuine Italian food. But from what I've had, it's all good. There's nothing bad.
When we were in the studio recording our album, it was like, you know, long days. We were all exhausted and like passing out. And a little like bunk room that we slept in was like separated from the kitchen by a wall, like a thin, tiny, terrible wall. And this dude would be up at like, he'd sleep different hours from the rest of us because of his work schedule. So like he'd be up at like 4 a.m. This kid was up for 4 hours making croutons, like handmade.
Yeah, they were good.
Yeah, but like times he's in and he's just like,
Dude, look, and I always find myself cooking at like super late hours. I mean, like my girlfriend's the same way. She stays up super late like me, so we'll end up like making dinner at like 3 a.m.
Oh man.
I've literally been on that sleep schedule for as long as I can remember. I've always been a night owl, so
I lived off of those croutons for like a good week in the studio.
good stuff. Yeah.
But for me, I'm gonna have to say like Japanese food in general. My wife's Japanese, so it's just it makes like my comfort food kind of, you know, like whatever she makes, I'm into it. I like rice in general, so that's my thing.
Yeah, I always like curry. My mom made a lot of curry when I was growing up, and if I know like a recipe, if I have the strength to make it. Otherwise, it's a bowl of cereal. But my number, actually I changed it. My number one, whatever Billy makes in that moment, that is my favorite food.
Oh, you know, honestly, like that's why I like to cook even for my job. Like even though it's for like a corporate restaurant that's like really super stressful, it's really gratifying to like make food that other people get, you know, happy from eating, and that makes me feel really good. So, yeah, thank you.
Fun fact about me, I also cook, so like this is just we're just totally all bonding together. So like all with this. I've created lifelong friends, so that's awesome. But my next question, guys, if you could pick somebody to collaborate with, whether it be a guest vocalist on your next record or a producer you'd like to work with in the future, who would it be?
Good question.
Thank you.
I was talking to one of my buddies. He's a guitar player for the Earth Laid Bare. I was actually talking about like wanting to do some kind of collab with him, whether it just be like instrumental stuff, because he's kind of on that like progressive side. Just something for fun. But if we're talking about like I guess larger names or like producers, trying to think, because honestly the guy that we went to for this record that we're putting out, his name is Matt Goldman, and he did all the Under Oath records, the Chariot,
awesome.
68, and all those like As Cities Burn. That was one of the top I wanted to go to from the get-go anyway. So really, like, it's kind of hard to think like who else. I guess like John Feldman would be like a really top up there like producer, because I know that like anything that he gets a hold of, he doesn't really have like an immense amount of control over the band's, you know, like freedom, but he's a well enough writer to where all of the music that he's like ever been a part of has done really well. So I know the success rate of being with him would like do us well, and he's always put out good work. So I guess it's a good one.
Yeah. For me, yeah, same. Like kind of my dream producers to work with were Cameron Mizell, who we worked with on our EP, Matt Goldman, who did our album with, and then I'd like to work with Chris Crummett also, just because he's done a lot of good stuff. And then in terms of like guest spots for me personally, I'm a big One OK Rock fan. thanks to my wife, and I think it would be really cool to have Taka, who's their singer,
Yep.
do something maybe in Japanese on one of our songs.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I have a lot of connections. I used to live there, so I don't know. I
Tell
think it'd be cool.
Chris told me about this guy, and he gets like
He gets acupuncture in his throat
That's
after
so
every show.
gnarly.
Yeah.
That's gnarly.
Yeah.
I know.
But I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, I think that's my answer too.
That'd be scary. Now I'm just thinking about like
I just want to try. Yeah, get some needles in my neck.
For my neck.
Acupuncture.
neck needles.
neck needles. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
I guess since I was a singer, like, oh yeah, I don't know who I'd want to collab with. I actually would really like to do something with Joey. Me and him have been trying to maybe. He writes a lot,
Yeah.
and
Do it, Joe.
I can do some of that hip hoppy R&B kind of stuff too. So yeah, I think he likes me now.
We'll find out if he comments or something.
Yeah.
We're gonna know the true answer. But anyway, guys, another fun question. If there was another musical instrument that you could be super talented at, what would it be?
Good question.
Drums. 100%, because I've actually had a bunch of people at work ask me, because if I'm not doing, which is rarely ever that I'm not doing anything at work because I'm always busy there, but even then, like, I'll be taking like my tongs and like playing drums with them, or like doing air drums. Like if I'm always like a lap dance or not
Like
drumming,
his
lap
hands
drum.
dance on his lap.
Yes. I always find myself lap drumming. So then, like, I have people ask me, like, how many different instruments do you play? Because you, like, do your drum thing, and then you act like you play bass sometimes. And it's like, yeah, I only really play guitar, but if I wish I was good at one, it'd definitely be drums. And I think I have capabilities. I just don't play enough. I don't have a drum set at my house or my apartment, so I can't really practice. But if I could, I think I'd be all right at it. What about you?
For me, probably piano, which I can kind of play piano. Like I took classes and lessons when I was younger, and now I just kind of like fiddle around. But it's really soothing and relaxing. And my parents have a piano, so
That's a cool one. I thought about this too. Like, I actually have a problem. It's like kind of a bit of an identity thing, because it's like I'm doing the best thing I can do right now. But like I have so many random instruments. My mom started doing this thing where, like, I don't know, for birthday, Christmas, like she just picked something up. Started with a ukulele, and now it's like I've got like a banjo and harmonicas, different like keys, some flutes, some weird stuff like this steel drum thing. I've got a pan flute.
yeah.
It sounds so
Yeah,
sweet,
we
dude.
use some tour for some reason.
Oh, that's the tin whistle, the
Okay.
Irish tin whistle, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like every time we're about to get ready to leave in the band, it's like,
Yeah, so I don't know, like, I can't, like, I just love it. I collect all kinds. I would love to get really good. I've been picking the banjo a lot, but I would really love to get good at the harmonica, because I have a thing that you can hold it into, like acoustic or banjo. But, like, there's this style, like, it's bending the notes that is super hard to overcome, and it's what gives it that twangy, like, holy shit, this dude is just
Ripping
it's
it.
the most lazy
Right.
instrument. Because someone's got at this bar, and he's just like, it's an open mic, and he's just like chugging drinks. Just gets up, just old dude, just like, and just go to tap. Like, that dude just
like,
like,
I want to be that
everyone
guy.
was like, oh my god, you're insane. Like, just a harmonica.
It's like I wish we got that kind of reception when we played, man.
You can put that in your pocket, a carry-on item on the airplane. I mean, you can just put it anywhere.
Yeah,
That's
I dig it.
maybe that one. Maybe that one.
I
Awesome.
like it.
I had a lot of weird stuff though.
Awesome, guys. Next question, my personal favorite one, because I'm a massive nerd, so I love asking it. If you could be a video game character, who would you be?
Ooh, you guys take the reins
Dude,
on that. You
Desmond
guys,
Miles,
Yeah, big Assassin's Creed fan.
see, I didn't even know who that was.
big
until you said it,
Assassin's
so-
Creed fan.
Oh man, I gotta think about it for a second.
Where's Skyrim character?
Yeah, the Skyrim character is like your character.
I know.
Right.
Or the guy, maybe, you know. Give me like a couple minutes to think about that. That's a good.
I don't know if I can particularly answer like what character I would want to be, but I do like Legend of Zelda. So I guess maybe Link would be cool because I feel like he's an all-around guy, and I of the Wild. Oh, look, that's old school Link, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love Breath of the Wild. That was one of my favorite games. That was when like I just got my Switch, and it's like still the best game I've ever played on Switch. So, I just love platformer games. I've been playing that Spyro the Dragon Reignited trilogy,
Nice.
and it is gorgeous, and it's really fun, and that's all I've been playing
You
for
want
the
to be
past few
Spyro?
weeks. Yeah, sure. I'd be this human stuff, man. It's just
Chris wants to be like 2010 or 12 LeBron James from NBA.
Yeah.
I could see it.
It's my alter ego.
We play a lot of 2K.
Yeah, I play a lot of 2K. Most of the games I play, not 2K or took, is like strategy games on PC. My favorite game is called Total War. It's like ancient Rome kind of stuff. So I'm not really one character. I'm just me making an empire. So
We need an answer.
It makes him feel really
I guess
powerful.
if I could be anybody, I'd be Caesar. I mean, that's my answer.
Dang, I mean, you're dating it back, ancient times.
Yeah.
Man.
Awesome, guys. Next question, getting back into more of the music-related stuff. If you compile a dream tour, who would be on the lineup?
Ooh, Under Oath would definitely be on my lineup.
Dance Gavin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say Dance Gavin Dance would be a good
Man,
one.
those guys are keeping it alive.
They really are, man. With all the stuff that they've
They're
gone
the
through.
coolest dudes.
So under Dance Gavin Dance and As Cities Burn would be my answer. So there we go.
Yeah, that would be the literal dream tour, I think.
Oh,
Everybody could agree.
I thought it was just like a dream, like you'd want to go to. We'd be there too.
Oh, yeah,
That's
like outside
nuts.
looking in, I'd say
That'd be
that.
nuts.
Why wouldn't you like be on it though? That's like the whole point, you know. If you're gonna shoot for it, you know, you might as well just like hit that like 3-pointer, you know, like Steph Curry, you know.
Yeah.
We'd be playing like Sam. Come on, man. We're not just watching. We're playing this one.
Wait.
Awesome, guys. To follow up the dream tour, in your opinion, who puts on a great live performance?
Like bands that we see, like who
Yes.
puts on a good one?
Yes, yeah.
His answer is probably the same as mine. I'd say the Chariot's probably the craziest band I've ever seen.
And then I feel like another band that I thought put on a good show, and it's kind of like something we haven't really discussed, was the Black Dahlia Murder. I feel like for how long they've been around, they really do. They put on a good show. I thought that so Volumes, they put on a pretty good show. As far as like really unique and crazy, I mean, honestly, I don't think I've seen anything crazier than the Chariot. I think they're literally the craziest live band, and also like the Fever. I still haven't seen them live, but I would like to see them just because I know that their performance is kind of like that Rage Against the Machine, like high energy, and they have the guitar player from the Chariot in that band anyway, so you know that their energy is going to be ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Wait. So is this like? It doesn't matter.
Your opinion, like who?
Oh my god, dude, Les and Jake, and they still play. Those guys, best show ever. Like talk about I think it's like every time I feel like I'm like I think I just died. I'm like 7 or something. It's like, Les and Jake's playing. And they just have confetti guns and stuff, and like they're just super talented. Roger, their bass player, sings so good, and they're so it just sounds so good.
Speaking of like confetti cannons and like all that crazy
palm
stuff,
trees and lights and stuff, you feel like you're
like Day to Remember is
on
another
Corona
good band.
Beach or something. Dude. Oh yeah.
Day to Remember is another one
that.
that like does like shirt cannons and they like running like from one side of the stage to the other. Like they definitely put on a really cohesive but energetic performance.
Yeah.
They're not like one of my like all-time favorite bands, but I respect them.
Dude, Flogging Molly or Dropkick Murphy. It's one of those Irish bands. Dude, those
Dropkick
guys,
Murphys for
it
sure.
might be. I got into a pit with, and it's just huge burly dudes, and they were all wearing like overalls,
For Flogging
dude.
Molly?
Yes. Flags. And it's just like the Irish mob, basically. Another one, dude. On Earth.
Ooh, I've never seen them.
I saw them at Madison Theater, packed, and like just people like doing backflips off the wall. Just people like at the show.
Okay, Every Time I Die is another one that's like that too.
I think a
actually.
trailer. It was just so nuts. And like,
I think
Faces and
honestly,
Walls
top
and
3
stuff.
of the most energetic performances that I completely forgot to mention is Every Time I Die, and I've seen them like 3 times, and they always just super nuts, but like really tight at the same time. It's hard to find a band that can like move around a whole bunch, but like still be able to play
nail
their
your
instruments and not be
parts. Yeah.
sloppy. So I think Every Time I Die is like the tightest, most energetic band. What about you? What do you think? Man?
I think like the band that I saw that made the most impact on me, that I can remember right now, like more recently, would be One OK Rock. Actually, I saw them on their last tour and they came through.
Nice.
And it was like just awesome. I'm not like a huge fan of their newer stuff, honestly, but I mostly like went for my wife, who's a huge fan. But just like the production of the show was really good. Like I was just like, wow, this is awesome. And then also kind of how they rearranged some of their songs to not really be like a full performance song, but like an interlude between the songs.
Yeah.
I don't know, really creatively done, and it was like a real performance. Like it was just really cool. It left a big impact.
I do have a question though. Do they perform in Japanese at all? Like in the States, I would assume probably not, just based off of because it's an English, mostly English crowd. So I figured I'd pose that question because I have not seen them, but I obviously know they're Japanese. So
Right. Yeah, they're older. They played like 2 songs from their older material that, where they'd like have the English chorus and the Japanese verses or whatever. And they actually did do the Japanese in those songs. But everything else off the newer albums, like the newer albums, they have an America version and a Japan version.
yes.
They just did English stuff for the new album.
Oh, so they did like multiple like tracks in the studio where they recorded all their songs in Japanese and then other. Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's like one of those bands that I feel like has can definitely hit both markets in terms of like obviously Japanese fans and like American fans that like the band as well. But I do like that you mentioned the Fever. More specifically, I love Let Live. So I was fortunate enough to see them before they, went into the grave. But they are like Jason's like nuts. So I'd love to hopefully catch them soon with the Fever. But next question, guys, another fun one. Favorite TV show, favorite movie?
Ooh.
You guys probably got the same t-shirt.
Man, it's hard. No, that's hard. A lot of stuff.
One of the best that I've seen in a long time, and it's kind of hard to find a show equivalent to that, is I think it was Breaking Bad. That's one that I like watched every single episode and like meticulously paid attention to like everything, and I just thought the character development was really good. Like you actually kind of you engaged with the characters a lot more than in some shows you might lose like the dialogue. Like I love Game of Thrones too. Like my girlfriend's been getting me into that a whole bunch. But sometimes I like get lost in the dialogue, and there's like a lot of character development in there, almost to keep up with at times. So I think like Breaking Bad was like the perfect like middle ground. Like they had enough characters, but it wasn't overwhelming enough to be like, oh, I forget what's going on with this group of people. It was just a very well made show. movie, man. That's the thing that's like really troublesome with me because there's so many freaking movies and there's so many that other people have been like recommending me to. I think one of my favorite ones is one called The Boondock Saints.
Ooh.
I feel like was one of my favorites. And I had this really weird thing like a few years ago for the Saw movies, even though they're like really messed up. I like the first like 3 of them because of the psychological factors of them and kind of like how like humanity acts like this certain way. Like it was a very honest like movie. And for me, it wasn't a lot about like the gore and the blood and the murder and all that stuff. A lot of people like just saw that part of it, but I kind of saw how, like the human race kind of like we take things for granted sometimes, and he wanted to teach people a lesson that like really took things for granted in a really messed up way. But I liked the theme of that more than I actually liked the violence. So I guess anything that's like really psychological. Was that one, The Bird Box, right?
Yes, yeah.
That's the one. Yeah, that's like one of the newer like best movies that I've seen. It's another psychological movie. So
All good stuff. Probably my favorite show is an HBO thing, but it's called Rome. I'm a big ancient history nerd, so that was one of my favorite shows. I do like Game of Thrones. Breaking Bad was awesome. Also really like Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Probably the most watched show. Like I can watch it X number of times and always laugh. Movies. Star Wars, probably. Specifically, Return of the Jedi is my favorite. But if we're talking comedies, then Dumb and Dumber would probably be my favorite. So those are my answers.
TV show, that's so hard. I think because for me, my favorite movie is the James Bond franchise.
Ooh.
And surprisingly, like I had favorites of the old ones, but I actually really liked Casino Royale because that was kind of when the franchise took a different turn. And I loved all the free running in the movie. I thought that was dope. And I loved Daniel Craig's demeanor as the new Bond. The older ones are cool though too. They're kind of funny, just dumb humor, and they're just slapping.
Yeah.
Okay, back then, those movies were probably really controversial. You see some skin. Movies are cool. TV show. I really like the show that Netflix stopped making called Peaky Blinders.
Oh, okay, the British show.
Never
That was a
heard of
cool one. Yeah, and it's Sons of Anarchy, dude. Honestly, that motorcycle show on FX. There's a lot of seasons in that. It took forever. I was overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I was
another one I really like
want to get a
too.
Harley so bad. My brother-in-law just.
Yeah.
He's super old, he old school, just cheap, and he's got a 94. Something odd here. $1,200. Man, we pretend Peaky Blinders. Me and my brother-in-law. It was for me and him. Really, we maybe get together and drink at my sister's house, and maybe go to the track. We have a horse track close to us. I don't get all into it. Or Sons of Anarchy. Oh man, we need to get a motorcycle to get some leather.
Yeah.
We'll just ride, bro. We'll just ride. We'll ride. We'll figure it out.
Lost in the desert.
Never get a new vocalist.
Next question, guys. Another musical related question. If you were trapped on a desert island and there was one album you could bring with you for the next month, what would it be?
That's a good question too.
You said, "What trapped on an island for a month? What would we bring?"
What one?
Bob Marley's.
One record.
Oh, one record.
Yeah, that would be
I love Bob.
That's so tough.
Doors. It would be the Doors, Phil. Something weird like that.
No, yeah, I might say the Doors' greatest hits album, so I get the best of all their songs. I guess that would be appropriate, but I don't know, man. It's
smart answer includes the
I
greatest.
take that out. I feel like Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon would definitely be a good one.
Okay.
I would hold on to because it's got a little bit of everything on it. So
I feel like I took the much more logical approach to the question. And I don't have a specific album, but whatever album gives you the most positive vibes to not go crazy by yourself on an island and wait for rescue is the one that I would take.
okay.
Mine is logical.
Well,
Well, I mean, the most logical one would be an audiobook on how to survive on an island.
right.
Oh man,
That's
see,
what I wasn't
a trick
sure.
question.
I was going to say
That's
that, but I
a
wasn't
great
sure if that was
a Bear Grylls.
I mean, that's I feel like it's funny because people will take it one way where they'll be I want to survive, and then so they go all out. They're I'm gonna listen to Bear Grylls for the next month, or they're the other route where they're I'm just gonna listen to Bob Marley and just chill and vibe out for a whole month. So
Yeah, and then just try to find a marijuana plant on the island.
exactly.
And then we're all right. Or you could just take one CD with the only song on it is "I Will Survive."
What's that? What's that sax guy? Kevin.
Wait,
Kevin G.
that guy.
Whisper. All right, guys. And lastly, the most important thing, tell them about Softspoken, where they can find you at, and anything coming up in the next couple months.
Yeah, you can find us on every platform, social media. Maybe not Tumblr or the other one.
Yeah, not like SoundCloud or like Reverb Nation or anything like that. But
We probably
Spotify,
we are there, but not
YouTube,
Not LinkedIn,
Pandora,
you know, we're not-
iTunes, Amazon,
It
or
should be in
Google Play.
LinkedIn. But yeah, Amazon, iTunes, all that good stuff. Spotify.
But most importantly, Spotify. I feel like that's kind of like the best, most expansive like streaming platform a whole lot of people use. So yeah, we can find everything on there.
Our URLs are at whatever's usernames. Softspoken Music, except for Twitter, which is Softspoken Band, because some guy has Softspoken Music. Shout out to that guy.
These are his types he's got going.
And then we have a website,
Probably a lot
staysoftSpoken.com.
softer than our stuff.
All of our album stuff, our album Death Perception comes out June 28th. And
We're releasing a really cool music video.
yeah, for
here,
that,
like in the next
soon,
couple days.
for our song.
Can we
Eclipse.
give a little?
Yeah, sure.
It's
Get it.
animated,
Yeah,
so it's got a story. So cartoon lovers out there will love it.
yeah, it'll be pretty sweet. So yeah, and then we've got pre-order bundles on merch now, which is softspoken.merchnow.com. And I mean that's about it. Pre-order the album, please.
Oh, we would love that.
Awesome. Well, I want to give a massive shout out to James at Carry the Fourth. He's the man. I've been working with him for a pretty long time, so I always got to give him some love. But go check out Softspoken. Links are in the description where you can find out about their bands. Go pick up their new record. I'll leave a link to the pre-order so you can go check that out too. And I just have to say I've been a fan of your band for a little while now, so it's kind of cool. This is all facilitating itself. But go check out Softspoken. I think the Artica definitely recommend. I've seen Artica post about that you guys a lot, and then as well as Macari and Picturesque, also from Kentucky.
Yeah.
They've all been posting about you guys, so like I feel like I had to check you out back then. Still killing it now, so go check out Softspoken. If you enjoyed this lovely interview, make sure to share it, like it, subscribe. It goes a long way, and thanks of course to Softspoken for coming on.
Thank you.
man. Appreciate
It
it.
was a pleasure.
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, of course. If you enjoy what we do, make sure to go check out the other series we do. We do album reviews, we do band interviews, and we do live videos, so definitely go check that out. Hit that subscribe button. It really helps our channel, helps us grow. Make sure to hit that like button as well. Go follow us on social media. That's all down below. We try to keep that as updated as possible. We also made a new website where we'll be posting photos of upcoming concerts and stuff like that, which you can go check out at audioaddictionmedia.com and come get your fix with us, guys. Talk to you later. Deuces.